around the same time as that year in between Sprung and Earth. So
why did you stop? Why did Sprung stop?
So Sprung's like a big thing. I just spoke about it for the first time ever with in an interview I did for Shredder. I sort of like never really sort of went into it that much, but Sprung 3 we made good money because we had that deal.
Yeah.
I think we kind of found our level of the amount of videos we sold.
Right.
Sprung 4, things were changing at Chile, and it went from me dealing with Sandy and people who wanted to sell it to like accountants. Like it changed really quickly to like, oh, well, if you want us to be your distributor, you have to do it at this price. I'm like, that's rubbish. We don't want to do that. Can't do that. And no, part of me felt like we were never going to sell that many more videos, you know.
Mm.
And I knew Sprung 4 was good, but it wasn't that same jump up from 2 to 3 was like big jump up. You know, 3 to 4 was, you know, about the same. You know, we went to New York, we had the different things, you know, we had the road trip with the Mark B and Blade music and stuff, but it didn't feel like we were going to sell like twice as many as Sprung 3, you know what I mean? So the deal was there. I just thought, we can't really do it ourselves now. You know, it's hard to go back to what we were doing. Part of me in hindsight thought I should have said, no, sod you, I'm just going to go and do it myself again and just see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, we might have been better.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was thinking about Sprung 5. I need to go and get that in the can and do this and do that. And then after three, Milan moved to America. He moved to California. So, like I said at the start, that was kind of his plan. He never really sort of said that to me, but he ended up doing it. It was like amazing. Like he had this goal to get there, and he pulled it off. You know what I mean? He's amazing. And for Sprung 4, he came back and we edited it in the UK. And he was here for like a month. And when he went, Sprung 4 was done. You know what I mean? And that was in time for Christmas and all this stuff. So that was like the real key thing for Sprung, was to get it out. So we had like, and people's stockings, you know. And then, sound like Santa Claus, don't I? And then for 5, I went to America. So I spent 2001 filming all around Europe on my own, because he was in America.
Yeah.
And then he did a bit of filming over there. He went to a couple of races. And then he was working for Fox Sports Network in America. Right. Doing like stuff for their sort of TV channel. And then he was repurposing the footage. We could repurpose some of it and put it in Sprung. Right. You know, so you see that influence in Sprung 5. It's almost like 2 separate films. You've almost got like Earth 1 meeting Sprung, Ultra Sprung, where it was like really lovely shooting, all cinematic style, and then my rough shit coming in, all like BMX style, and like and then like the gritty stuff coming through, and then mix it all together, and we had like the Sprung 5, which is incredible. Like product was amazing, right? Yeah. And but it was the first one we edited ourselves, like on Final Cut Pro. All the others we'd had to use facilities. Yeah. Right. So Sprung 4, we kind of did half at this college non-linear edit suite where we could get in for free, like a Sony one, and then we did like we got a week in at this other professional facility where we could still use the Avid, and we were like, right, well, we've got this pre-edited, let's drop this in here, and then we've got it. You know, we spent a month doing that and 2 weeks in the professional edit suite, with like 2 weeks in the Sony edit suite, which we would get for free. It was still a really good edit suite, but it wasn't as expensive as the Avid. So
I did question why he came back from America. I was thinking, you just jump on a Zoom call, do a section each. I'd completely forgotten that at this stage you're still in editing suites.
Yeah. And then so for 5, I went to stay with Milan in Palm Springs, and stayed there I was there for 3 months, like the full amount of time you're allowed to be there, aren't you? I was supposed to be there for 2 months, have the video done, and then come home. And then I went out there, and we were kind of real lackadaisical about, we weren't like, right, let's edit this. We had like the whole of September. It was just after 9/11 I went out there. I remember Milan picking me up from the airport, and it was like mad security. And it was just like a really different vibe. But yeah, we went there and just sort of like, let's go to the skate park then, you know. And then we did stuff like the Kyle Strait filming.
Yeah.
And we went to Rampage.
Yeah.
You know, that was then when I was there.
Hell, that section was amazing because we didn't see that other than on your. Like where would you see Rampage? You wouldn't see it, would you? You'd see,
not
like,
really, no.
Stills in like
not
a
really.
magazine.
Yeah.
Being in the UK, you just wouldn't.
True.
Yeah, not really. I mean,
True.
you'd have to wait for New World Disorder to come out.
Yeah.
And that would have been a little bit of a wait, wouldn't it? So, I mean, that was a cool experience, and it was good timing, you know. And it was weird looking back at like Kyle Strait just being like 14 and a half, whatever he is in the video, and now you see him just like at the end of his career, and I was put things in perspective for me personally. And also Zinc was, he wasn't, when we did Sprung 5, he wasn't around, but he was with Kyle when we met up with him for...
Really?
No, he was, because he went to these big trails. I remember these huge trails that Kyle couldn't remember where they were. And we were like driving around for hours looking for these trails, and he was just giggling like this little kid, like, I'm like, Kyle, really need to find these trails, man. Like, can you phone anyone or find out? He's like, I don't know. He was just like, hilarious, not funny for us, because we were like, we really want to go and find this place. And we got there and they were insane compared to what we'd seen before. I'm like, you're just a kid. You're not going to ride those. This is... And then they were just trail bossing them, you know, just full trail boss. Him and Zinc was there. And then Zinc was like, you know, up and like, look, you know, he was just like, who's this kid? And he's like, oh yeah, you know, now it's mad to see how it's all gone on. It's awesome, you know. Like,
I wanted the backpack Kyle Strait had. I can't tell you how much I wanted that. It was a
run,
spy backpack. I wanted it so badly.
The spy, yeah.
I wanted it, and all of my friends did. We were all just like, how do you get it? Because you couldn't. Like, how do you get it?
Yeah.
Oh man, I remember wanting it so bad.
Spy backpack. Weird how those little things stick with you.
Yeah.
Just those little things.
Yeah,
Not even,
it is funny.
Part of the film properly, but you just.
Totally.
I need it. I don't want that thing.
It's mad, isn't it?
I was like it with Black Fly's sunglasses. I was just like, you know, sunglasses.
Yeah.
Can't get them.
But I remember, like, talking about influences then as well. Like, I guess we were still like, I remember Milan saying, "Oh, you got to check this out," and it was on any Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, so and that really informed Sprung 5, like big time. And then we went to Lake Elsinore. We filmed at Lake Elsinore.
Yeah.
Which was on any Sunday, where they
Cessla was in.
She did some stuff.
Wasn't she in on any Sunday as one of the kids? Am I making that up?
Oh wow!
Yeah, I think she was. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Amazing film. If people haven't seen it, they're watching this.
So then you had like with Sprung 5, you had Milan had like the snow sprung bit at the end. Can you remember that?
Yeah.
So because that was a good example of what he was doing for Fox Sports Network.
Right.
So then he that was like for a segment for Fox Sports Network where they had like interviews, and it was like, you know what I mean? And then he just like repurposed it for Sprung. So that's kind of what a lot of Sprung was in there, you know, and it worked. I think it was good, but it was just different. And things were difficult because I was there for the whole 3 months. I left with no money at all. I spent all my money, like every single last penny. I'd moved out of home, and after that I had to move back into home, my mum's house, you know, and that's kind of like a bit of a sort of downer. And then it was clear at that point then, right, even if Sprung sold loads, it's going to be difficult for me to move out.
Yeah.
Again, you know, it's like something had to change anyway. You know what I mean? Something had to, and really to keep going with Sprung, it just wasn't feasible. And I think Milan kind of felt the same, that it probably wasn't worth the headaches.
Where did the majority of the revenue come from at that point? Would it come from sales or from sponsorship?
It was like a mix, but the sponsorship wasn't easy. Yeah. Like we've got
24/7.
We had, it was good for UK sponsors.
Yeah.
You know, but for Sprung 5, I really wanted to get it so we were more like American. We could get into that American vibe, because I knew like New World Disorders were getting like $10,000 per sponsor.
Yeah.
And we weren't getting nothing. We get like some free free T-shirts.
Keyring maybe, chuck a keyring.
We get. Well, that's what it was boiling down to. Was like Spy were on Sprung 5, and you think, oh yeah, brilliant sponsor, amazing, made them look amazing. And what do we get? We got like 10 pairs of sunglasses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What did you get for the Athlon?
And like a few pair of glasses. I got like some pedals and some wheels.
Did you?
Yeah.
The 24/7 one was a cartoon with the two guys.
Good that was.
Jamie
stop frame or whatever.
So they were really good, you know. Yeah. And like you know, we had really like Sprung 3 was probably the pinnacle. You know, Sprung 3 and 4 in terms of that. And I think I don't know what was happening around the time in the UK with the scene, but maybe things were just on a bit of a dip, and we just couldn't quite raise the funds for 5 the same way. You know, we couldn't go back to DMR and 24/7 and kind of fizzle in a bit. They weren't. Yeah. You know, they'd seen their. So I think around that time it was kind of like entering like a bit of a phase where something. So, yeah, because like we had Orange, we had Royal, and it was all just it was all product, man. It was all like rubbish, you know, and like really we should have been like, yeah, look, we've done 3, we've done 4, you should be paying this much, and it just wasn't happening. Yeah. So you know, maybe if I'd have done a better job at like putting my foot down and saying, but I just don't think the vibe was there.
It's been way harder
at the time,
Now you send an email out with a pitch deck, and it's like, how would you have done it then? Literally going to the office.
I was on the phones, you know, I was on the phones and chatting, and then we had relationships with a lot of people in the industry because we were at the races a lot. Yeah. And you know, you think 5, we were still sleeping on floors, so it wasn't like it is now where people were getting paid like to be freelance filmers and the industry could support like all these different characters. It just wasn't, and you know, you were lucky to have what you had, you know. And with 5, it kind of wheels came off a bit with distribution stuff. Like ultimately, I didn't really see much money from the American DVD because Milan kind of every single deal we'd done before was 50-50, where we'd invoice separately every single royalties. We'd invoice separately, and then I'd say you've got to tell them you've got to send the report out to Milan and me, and we both invoice separately like that. And then because Milan was in LA, he popped down to do the DVD and it happened to be the American distributor there, and then they did their own release, totally off their own back. And I'm like, oh my God, like how's that happened? You know what I mean? It was like, so Milan had kind of taken control of it. Right. And I'd lost that, you know, I was sort of left out, if you like. So it was kind of, for me, that was the end of Sprung. Do you know what I mean? At that point,
conversation he hadn't talked to you about
he kind of like, he didn't say, oh no, you've got to send your invoice now to these people, or you can invoice me, you know. Yeah. He was kind of like, he sort of took over, and that was kind of,
it's pretty weird.
He wasn't actually very good at the admin. He'd admit that now. He actually told me that, you know, he fucked up. So I don't really like to go on about it, but it's not that upsetting for me now. It is fine. And then that brings us right up to Earth, really, and just like like where I'm talking about lucky to have a job, happy to have whatever you've got going on. You know, I spent the next year just hustling, just trying to make something happen.
Did you enjoy this clip? If so, please like and subscribe. The full episode is available by hitting one of the links on the screen right now, or type The Ride Companion into your favourite podcast app. We've even put links in the show description for you. Cheers!